Sunday of Great Lent, it is called Sunday of Orthodoxy. And it's interesting that, people say, okay, why is it called Sunday of Orthodoxy? Why call it that? What's so special about this first Sunday of Great Lent, besides the fact that it's the first Sunday of Great Lent, the journey? And if anybody looks it up, you'll see that, of course, we are celebrating the return of the holy icons to the church. Okay, so people say, well, what do you mean a return? Like, when did they ever go away? Most people don't read a lot of church history, I'm assuming. But if you do go back into church history, or you go home and you Google it, and you put in something called iconoclasm. Iconoclasm is a time period in our own church's history, in the Byzantine Empire and the Eastern Empire, where the icons were actually fought and actually banned by the Byzantine emperor himself. So in the 7th century, there was a Byzantine emperor, his name was Leo, and he turned against his own church. He turned against the Eastern Church in the sense that he started to believe teachings from the Muslim faith against images, because we know that in Islam, all images are considered to be idolatry. All images. Of course, we don't believe this because, of course, images are not idolatry. They can be if we worship them as God, but images are there to help us. They are a tool. They are there to remind us. They are there to teach us. This is what the icons do in the church. This is what the theology of the church is that we do not worship icons, but rather we worship with icons. They help us. They're a tool. And so at this time period in the church, this emperor, he believed that this was idolatry and that we shouldn't be doing it. And so he issued edicts to ban the icons from the churches. Now, when you think about this sounds crazy because we've all grown up used to icons in the Orthodox Church. We go to the Orthodox churches. We know that they look very warm and very colorful, and there's icons everywhere. This is very normal for us. Well, even back then in the 7th century, the church is already 600 years old. People are already used to it because there were icons from the very, very beginning. We have historical archaeological sites of not only catacombs, but house churches and ancient ruins from the 2nd and 3rd century and 4th century, very, very early on, where Christians were already congregating together and already doing worshiping together. And in those places we have icons. We have icons painted, we have icons in stone, we have icons on sarcophagi, we have all these things. Icons existed even from day one, and images even existed in the Old Testament, we know, right? And so this is something that was part of the life of the church, this visual theology within the church, this beautiful kind of warm atmosphere when we come into the church and we see the pictures of our loved ones, because that's what the saints are. They're our family members that have passed on, and we are reminded of them. And so could you imagine now, already 600 years, people have been used to icons, and suddenly the king tells you, you can't use this anymore, and they come into your churches and they destroy all the icons, like literally destroy them, take them down, burn them, break them, paint over them. This is what they did throughout the empire. And for almost 100 years, this was happening. Almost 100 years. We can't even fathom the idea that there were Orthodox Christians who were born, lived, and died during an era where they would never have had icons in their church. The church would have been white. The church would have been blank. And so this was an attack not on an art form, not on just a way that we like to worship, but rather the church saw it as an attack on the incarnation itself. And what is the incarnation? The incarnation is that God becomes man. That Jesus Christ is an actual human being. He's a historical figure. He lived, and he breathed, and he walked, and he taught, and he knew people, and he interacted with people. So he actually lived on earth. We actually have more historical evidence for the person of Jesus Christ than we have of most other historical figures in antiquity, which is interesting that most people still, today, a lot of people say he was a myth or he never really existed, right? And so this idea that, he's a myth and he was not a historical figure is counteracted by the fact that the church keeps these beautiful icons as a reminder that God becomes man, and not only God, but also the Virgin Mary is a person. The apostles are people who actually lived. The saints who lived lives and followed him. All these people were actual people who actually lived. And so we have icons of them to remind us of their historicity, that they actually lived in this life. Just like at home, we usually have pictures of family members, both those who maybe live far away or those who have passed on, and we want to remember them. We want to remember them because we want to remember that they actually exist, that they're real people. They're not just, stories that we tell each other. And so for the church, this attack on the icons was an attack on, how real Jesus is and how real the saints are. And people fought against it. And it took almost 100 years for this fight to come to an end with the Seventh Ecumenical Council, in which the icons were restored by Emperor Michael and his mother, Saint Theodora. And so this is the event that we are celebrating today. And it's been put to be celebrated on the first Sunday of Great Lent, not because it's just a triumph of the theology of the Incarnation, a triumph of the return of the beautiful icons back into the church, but it's called the triumph of Orthodoxy. Why? Because it is an affirmation of the truly historical nature of Christ's mission. That Christ was a real human being that lived and did the things that he did. That the things in the Bible are not just myths and stories, but things that actually happened. And so we continue to affirm this by painting and depicting these beautiful scenes in the Bible and these beautiful people to remind us that they actually do exist. And so this is put at the beginning of Great Lent. Why? Because in Great Lent, we are trying to come closer to the church. We are trying to come closer to Christ. And we are trying to make Christ more real in our lives. And so one of the ways that we do this is that we worship with icons. We don't worship the actual icons, but we use them, we venerate them, and they help us in the way that we pray. They guide us, rather. They point towards Christ. And even the saints, they point towards Christ. Everything points towards Christ. And so this is what we're trying to do, starting this journey of 40 days, and it starts with knowing Christ. And so this is the great feast that we're celebrating today, and this is why at the end of the service, you'll notice after we do the memorials that we're going to have this beautiful procession of our Sunday school and our youth coming around the church holding their beautiful icons. Some from the church, some have brought icons from home to show their own patron saints, their connection to their own names, the ones that sometimes they have in their bedrooms, they have in their home, things that they have a strong connection to. It connects them to the family of the church. It's very, very, very important for us. And so this is why we call it the triumph of Orthodoxy, and this is what we're celebrating today at the beginning of Great Lent. May we have a blessed, blessed feast, a blessed, blessed Lenten fast as well. We run the race well, and we come to his glorious resurrection.